incidents you mentioned is again a little painful situation recently developed in uh, Senegal, not Cameroon, just because of an arrest of a
Yeah, the,
yes, of a leader, opposition leader. The youth of Senegal came to the streets. They started fighting against the infrastructure, their own infrastructure, against their government. They thought they're fighting against their government. They are uh, trying to support their leader. I personally believe, and the organization believes, that they were fighting against their own infrastructure. They started burning the businesses. They started destroying the property. They started, um, you know, damaging their own infrastructure. As a result, a lot of youth they were killed by the government forces. Somebody had to step up and, as a third force, as a neutral force, to try to bring peace in that situation. We not only issued the press release, we reached out to the opposition leaders, we reached out to the youth, and we also reached out to the biggest stakeholder, that is the government of Senegal, and we successfully made them realize that we are not against the government of Senegal, not necessarily to demonize them. We are trying to help them as a neutral entity to bring peace and to negotiate the settlement where all the three parties, the youth, who have seen 13 months of COVID, they are frustrated. They are they are worried about their own future. They are worried about the political uh, system of the country, and of course the opposition parties. They are afraid that they will be victimized just because they are in the opposition. So we are trying to work something in between, something neutral. And just today, I received an email from the foreign minister of Senegal appreciating our efforts. And finally, we have started seeing a light at the end of the tunnel that we can negotiate the settlement between all the three parties. So these are only a few of the incidences. We had been in African continent during most of these natural disasters as well. We were in
mm,
Senegal, we were um, in um, Ivory Coast, we were in Nigeria, and by the way, Nigeria is also facing some serious
mhm.
lawlessness these days. Recently, the jails were broken. A lot of criminals they were released who are already in the society in the country, and that will create that. I should not say that will. That may create some serious trouble in the lawlessness in the long term. We're trying to work on that crisis as well.
Mhm.
And
So after you diplomatically get engaged with the governments and the different parties who are in the conflict, what is your organization after that? What is your role?
first of all, the first thing we do is we try to reach out to the main stakeholder, is the government of any country. If it's a natural disaster, we offer them our services. We offer them that we can raise funds to support them, to help them, or in some cases to bring them the infrastructure as well. And in some cases, when we need to have a peace between more than one party, two or three, or more than three parties, we offer them and we assure them our neutral and unbiased intervention, and we assure them that we don't take sides in any conflict. The only side we take is about the people of that country, because
Mm,
the biggest loser are the people, the innocent civilians. My role is to first open up the doors of communication with different countries wherever we want to have the intervention. And let me assure you, in most incidences, the first response is always giving us a shut up response. No, we don't need your help. We can handle it ourselves. We try to convince them that you cannot handle it yourself. You need some friends on your side who can be neutral, who can be honest, and who also feel the pain of your people. So that's what is my role, to make them feel comfortable talking to us.
Do you think that they are rejecting the mediations because it's a fair or international organization, or what is the problem here?
Most of the times they refuse intervention because they are insecure, because they're hiding something, because in some cases they are unfair with their own people, because in some cases they're using excessive force to the peaceful protest of their own people on the streets. So we make them realize that if even if they are unfairly using excessive force, we can work with them to control the situation and make sure that they don't have to go to that level of using uh, lethal and unfair force against their own people. And again, just like you asked the question, that is my role, to make them feel comfortable to start talking to us.
Yeah, so to start talking to you, and after that, have how far has the organization done on that in the level of addressing the issues, especially in the United Nations?
The problem is that dealing with United Nations is much more difficult than dealing with the conflict zones. In many cases where conflict has taken longer time, like Somalia was another ideal case. The conflict killed thousands and thousands of people on both sides, on three sides. But the problem was going back to United Nations and trying to convince them that their efforts did not bring the fruit or did not bring the peace in Somalia. So give us a chance to operate, because we had connections with General Farah Adid's party, we had connections with the civil societies, we had connections with the people of Somalia. So what United Nations generally do, they fail to do the conflict resolution. In most cases, they send their peace operations, peace forces, the army, who is generally not allowed to use force against the violence. So basically, it's been very difficult for United Nations to bring the parties of the conflict on the table. That's what different we do than the United Nations. We try to bring the parties on the table and start talking not just to us. That's the first step, that we make them feel comfortable to start talking to us. We make them feel comfortable to start talking to themselves. One basic principle we use in conflict resolution, that there is no stated position which is the perfect position. There is no mission or there is no goal which is the perfect goal for any of uh, those parties in conflict zones. Everyone will have and should have to compromise on their stated positions, to compromise in order to save lives. That is our goal. And that's what we try to convince the parties in conflict, that you must be willing to compromise on your position in order to bring peace. If everybody sticks to their point of view, there will not be a peace in any conflict zone. So, bargaining, negotiation, and try to convince them to compromise, to give up a little bit on their stated position. In many cases, we are successful.